I will not go gently, subservient and mild, but with my eyes wide open, raging wild.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Wendy Peliquin, and I am president of Dahlia Living's Board of Directors. But more importantly today, I'm honored to serve as your host as we celebrate the life of an extraordinary woman, Barbara Barger. I had the privilege to call Barb my friend and mentor for nearly 30 years. I will forever cherish the hours I spent at her bedside as Barb recounted her story in the waning weeks of her life. Having known her since 1992, I had always been astounded by the tenaciousness of the woman she was, but hearing her talk of her life, share her story, I realized how truly thankful we all should be to have had her in our world, to have touched our lives. In those visits, we reminisced, philosophized, laughed a lot, and cried a tear or two. Her down-to-earth yet independent spirit was with her until the very end. Barbara Barger was so many things to so many people: mother, spouse, sister, mentor, friend, trailblazer, innovator. And yes, I'm going to call her a superhero, a woman who changed the life of so many. Born in Shinston, West Virginia, on September 2, 1942, Barb's independent spirit bubbled up as a young girl on a school bus, driven by a need to help a disabled boy. In rural West Virginia at the time, most people with special needs were feared or ostracized for their differences, but not to Barb. That incident only solidified her innate need to help people. That same independent spirit found her on her first plane ride across the country at the age of 20. She settled in Bremerton, Washington, after accepting a transfer with, as she called it, quote, the phone company. We all knew it at the time as Pacific Northwest Bell. In 1964, the birth of her own differently able daughter, Beth, changed the direction of her life forever. Barb's commitment to giving and developing long-term quality care for Beth and others was unwavering. She was happiest when she was helping people. She told me she was driven to give, in her words, quote, blood or money. And since she often didn't have the money, she gave in blood as a perennial volunteer to organizations in need and a foster parent over the years to 16 children. As Beth aged into her teenage years, her health continued to decline and her medical needs led to a move into the Interlake Nursing Center in Bellevue. Barb began volunteering with a group called Helping Hands for the Disabled. Their mission was to raise funds for the residents at the Interlake Center. Then in the early 80s, when the state announced the impending closure of the Interlake Center, Barb's choices for Beth were few. The state wanted to institutionalize her, but Barb was adamant that Beth would have a home with the care she deserved. Armed with tenacity and a devotion to her daughter, still employed by the phone company, she started researching possibilities. She discovered that HUD would grant loans to build group homes. So Barb, acting as Helping Hands, applied and, to her great surprise, was granted a loan. She solicited more funds from the Seattle Archdiocesan Housing Authority, and in 1981, Helping Hands for the Disabled broke ground on Champion House, one of the first of its kind in Washington state. 5 residents from the Interlake Center, including Beth, moved in, as well as 3 other special needs adults when the doors opened in 1983. Today, 3 of the original residents still reside at Champion House.
Hello, I'm Barbara Stevenson. I've known Barb Barger for 37 years. Barb was one of the first people I met after we moved to Bellevue from Denver. At the time, I was pregnant and I had a 12-year-old son with developmental disabilities and mental illness. Barb was his school bus driver, a job she had taken while Champion House was being built. One day, shortly after Michael left for the bus stop, I received a call from Barb saying I should get there right away. Michael was there, but he had refused to get on the bus, holding up a set of car keys and saying, I don't have to ride the bus today. I'm taking my mom's car. And that was just the beginning of the support that Barb has given me over the years. Barb took me to Mother's Group, which was a support and friendship group of mothers of kids with disabilities. She knew just what I needed at that point in time. Shortly thereafter, Barb became too busy with Helping Hands to participate in the group, but we all knew she was working for and with us. Not long after that, Barb invited me to join the board of directors of the newly formed Helping Hands for the Disabled, which was building Champion House. I worked with Barb officially as a board member through the opening of Champion House and the building and opening of Halcyon. I learned how dedicated and determined Barb was to ensuring the quality of life for people with developmental disabilities. I was amazed at how she could speak with HUD officials, Division of Developmental Disabilities staff, and legislators with logic and passion. She had no fear, and nothing held her back from her goals. Barb helped me with Mike again, unsolicited. Mike needed a hernia operation and had already missed the date once, out of fear. As I tried to convince him that this would be in his best interest, I called Barb for advice. She offered to go with me to take him to the hospital in Tacoma. Michael was fearful but okay with our support. That is, until the nurse requested that he sign an end-of-life directive. He said, "I don't want to die," and tried to jump off the table. Barb's calm voice and presence helped him understand that it was just a formality, and thankfully he went through with the operation. I will be forever grateful. I connected more closely with Barb as her health declined and she was unable to leave the house. We spent a couple hours a week reminiscing and talking about nothing and everything. But being together was what mattered. Barb loved her flowers, and we spent a lot of time discussing and admiring her yard. Barb was the kind of person that you thought was too nice and caring to have such misery befall her. Throughout, though, she was in charge. She chose how to live, and she chose how to die. I admire that. I wasn't finished spending time with her, but when the universe calls, it's impossible to say no. I love and miss Barb. Her impact was and is being experienced by those of us who knew and loved her, as well as multitudes who were touched by her life in untold ways.
Barb told me she believed her life began at age 40. She left the phone company and started managing this new agency with no prior experience, but with all the responsibility to navigate complex levels of bureaucracy and serve the weighty needs of the residents. It quickly became her full-time job and her passion. It was in this role, as she was hiring for resident caregivers, she met a young woman named Eva Robinson. Barb was instantly captivated by Eva's humor and strength of character. Together, they formed an inspirational partnership that challenged conventional boundaries and would last the rest of her life. The success of Champion House prompted the state to ask Helping Hands to expand, and in 1987, Halcyon opened. 2 more homes followed in years to come. Visions, a 24/7 nursing care facility, opened in 1982, and Trail House followed in 1997 as the second intensive tenant support program. Today, as you know, in part to keep Barb's legacy alive, Helping Hands is now known as Dahlia Living, and we proudly serve 25 differently abled residents.
Barbara Ann Barger. The succinct version is that Barbara Barger was one of the finest human beings in our world. Barbara Barger had the brilliance, the foresight, the compassion, the energy, the perspective, the persistence, the resilience, the radiant and ever-present bright smile, and the strength of conviction to dream big and to carry out more service to more people than most people can even comprehend, let alone achieve. Barbara Barger was awesome. Barbara Barger was inspiring. She was as much service to her employees as she was to her vulnerable citizens. She was always very forthright and without hesitation would very graciously and with clarity tell a person how, what, why, where, and when they might want to change some of their behaviors or thoughts or attitudes for the benefit of all concerned in the agency and beyond. And I'm at least one of many individuals that know that following such wise counsel, her unending support and respect continued whether or not the wise counsel was followed as she would have liked. Barbara Barger was the first person to hire me as a psychologist in Washington State. The 40 years of friendship with Barbara is one of the greatest gifts in my life. However, another huge gift was if Barbara Barger had not made space for my son in Halcyon in 1987, he would not be alive. So that brings me back to the succinct version. With much gratitude, I say that Barbara Barger is one of the finest human beings in our world. I want to close with reading a poem by an unknown author. The name of the poem is Afterglow. I'd like the memory of me to be a happy one. I'd like to leave an afterglow of smiles after life is done. I'd like to leave an echo of whispering softly down the ways of happy times and laughing times and bright and sunny days. I'd like the tears of those who grieve to dry before the sun of happy memories that I leave when life is done. Thank you for Barbara Barger.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Jordan. I'm the Executive Director for Dahlia Living. I'm honored to share a few words with you today about Barb and the incredible legacy she has left. Thank you for joining us today as we remember Barb and celebrate her life. When I moved to the Seattle area from Arizona in the early 1990s, my mom encouraged me to reach out to Barb. My mom always said she thought Barb and I would get along well, as she thought we were similar in our desire to help others and make a difference in our world. What a huge compliment to be thought of as someone similar to Barb. Thank you, Mom. As a child, I heard a lot about Barb and her daughter, Beth Ann Bowman. My uncle, Steve Bowman, adopted Beth as a young child, making her my cousin. My granny had many pictures of Beth Ann, and I was fascinated by the mischievous spirit that shone through in Beth's pictures. I didn't get to know Barb or Beth, though, until after I had moved to Washington, and Barb convinced me, after a couple of years of trying, to join the board of directors for Helping Hands for the Disabled. The rest is history. I've either been on the board or an employee of this amazing agency since 1994. Oh, and that mischievous spirit I saw in Beth's photos? So very true. She always managed to get $1 from me for her cokes. While it is true that I was hired to be the executive director when Barb announced her well-deserved retirement, it cannot be said that I replaced Barb, because Barb is simply irreplaceable. I can only say that I follow in her footsteps and attempt to make her proud of what Dahlia Living is today. Wendy and I often talk about how we do what we do out of our love, admiration, appreciation, and respect for Barbara Barber and the huge difference she made in this world. We talk about how we hope she knew how truly loved and cherished she was by so many. It is my fervent hope that Dahlia Living will continue to thrive and support the community of differently abled adults in our region, and that we all continue to make this world a better place, just as Barb did during her amazing lifetime. I recently read a quote that said, You were born with the ability to change someone's life. Don't ever waste it. Barb sure changed a lot of lives, and she sure as heck didn't waste her abilities. May we all leave such an indelible mark as Barb has left.
Barb retired from Helping Hands in 2008, and with that, another chapter in her life began. She now had more time to spend hours in the garden that she loved, trips to plan. I asked her once what her favorite destination was, and she replied, anywhere. Cruising was a particularly favorite pastime, including voyages in Hawaii, the Caribbean, and through the Panama Canal. She and dear friend Patty Duffy, and occasionally Cheryl's mother, Kathy Varner, took train rides and car trips. She cherished memories of camping trips and picnics with the large and gregarious Duffy family. Barb was a passionate sports fan, especially of the Seattle Storm. She and Eva were original season ticket holders all the way back to the Storm's early days as the Seattle Reign. I personally ran into her multiple times at Bellevue High School's football games, cheering on her beloved nephew, Tyron. Hers was truly a life well lived and well loved.
I am. I am the sound of the birds, the whisper in the trees, the gentle silence after a storm, and the warm summer breeze. I am the star in the sky at night. I am those thoughts in your head that say something right. I hold your hands when you are feeling low. Although I get a feeling that you just don't know. I did not die. I'm still here. I'm the gentle voice within your ear.
Perhaps above all else, Barb was a survivor, sometimes more than she would will herself to be. From moving to an unknown world in the Northwest, to embracing the challenges of raising a differently abled child, to possessing the creativity and tenacity to build an agency that would give her daughter and so many others a real home for life. In her later years, she survived the myriad of health conditions that confounded doctors and made her a VIP with the EMTs. Barb always met every encounter with determination, humor, and grace. I distinctly remember her telling me that she absolutely would not live to see the calendar roll into 2020 because she didn't want Eva to have to deal with filing a return for her in a new tax year. Well, even though she was growing weaker by the day, she could not beat that innate survival spirit. Eva and I laughed because she was truly cranky to still be with us on New Year's Day 2020. Barbara Ann Barger passed away, she would say, to bird heaven on January 16th, 2020. She's preceded by her parents, Fred and Bessie Shingleton, siblings Fred Jr., Charles, and Nidra, and of course, her beloved daughter, Beth Bowman, in 2006. Those still on earth, including the love of her life, Eva, constant companion and foster son, Joseph, as well as nephew Tyron, foster son Seth, and devoted cat Crystal, are so thankful you could join us today. I know you feel as I do that our lives, our world, is a better place because Barb was in it. I invite you to leave your own remembrances of Barb on this memorial webpage, and if you're able or inclined, you can make a donation to Dahlia in her honor. Please know that all of us at Dahlia Living work every day to serve the residents she loves so much and preserve the legacy she so selflessly built. Thank you so much for joining us today.
When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet, will your mouth still remember the taste of my love? Will your eyes still smile from your cheeks? Darling, I will be loving you till we're 70. And baby, my heart could still fall as hard at 23. And I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe just the touch of a hand. Well, me, I fall in love with you every single day. And I just wanna tell you I am. So honey, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud, maybe we found love right where we are. When my hair's all but gone and my memory fades, and the crowds don't remember my name. When my hands don't play the strings the same way, I know you will still love me the same. 'Cause honey, your soul could never grow old, it's evergreen. And baby, your smile's forever in my mind and memory. I'm thinking about how people fall in love in mysterious ways. And maybe it's all part of a plan. Well, I'll just keep on making the same mistakes, hoping that you'll understand. But baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are. So baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh, darling, place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud that maybe we found love right where we are. Or maybe we found love right where we are. And we found love right where we are.
What we seek is what we'll find. Take my hand.